Hello and welcome. In this session, we are going to learn about the read replicas in Azure PostgreSQL single server, or it can be any other managed instance in Azure PostgreSQL. So what are the read replicas? The read replicas are the kind of the replicated instance that has the data of their primary PostgreSQL server. And these are mainly used for read applications wherein you can redirect your application which are read only. So these are just the read only managed instance of PostgreSQL. And the most important part over there is they are updated asynchronously with the PostgreSQL primary server. That means the data which is being modified or updated on the primary PostgreSQL may not replicate to your read replica on real time because this is asynchronous, and it also depends upon what kind of workload is there on your primary server and the speed of replication between primary to the read replica. Uh, so you can have maximum up to 5 replica, and there will be one primary uh, replica. So in total, so you have six. One is primary, which can be used for both read and write operations. But if you are making your application in such a way that if there is any write application, it goes to the primary, and if there is any read operation, it goes to replica. Then you can have 5+1 settings available. What are the usage of read replica? They are useful when you have read intensive application. You can redirect your application to the read replicas, which is maximum of 5 in case of Azure PostgreSQL. So you can use your primary replica both for read and write, and your read replica for read operations. And the important part of this is read replica can be deployed onto a different region, and in case if it is required for your read replica to be promoted to a read write server during a DR exercise or something like that, they can be. So you stop the replication, that means it is already detached from your primary, so the replication doesn't exist. It is now an independent PostgreSQL instance that can be used for read and write operation. And what needs to be taken care when you are planning the read replica for PostgreSQL? So one thing to understand that it is asynchronous. So the lag which will be available, you have to accept that. There isn't anything which you can do, and this is mainly useful for the query offloading, and the latency may be from minutes to hour depending upon the workload of your primary PostgreSQL instance. So if the primary instance is not so much of write intensive, in that case, or you in other words you say, if it is not so much of workload on that, in that case your the changes which are happening on to the primary, they will be comfortably replicated to the replica managed instance. So uh, one thing to understand, if it is your primary instance is too much of write intensive, that means too many workload is there, too much of workload is there, and the data is being changed like anything. The amount of the wall, which is your write ahead logging, which changes, it is too much. And because this wall has to be transferred over the network to your read replicas, if the rate of generation and the transfer rate from your primary to read replica, they are not in sync with each other, in that case it might be possible that your read replica will always lag behind the primary. That should be acceptable depending upon you have done the proper proof of concept, wherein you will say, when we are doing the proof of concept, you will overload your primary application which is connected to your primary replica. And what happens, you have to monitor the lags which are happening. So you put your primary application on maximum peak, you go to the Azure tab, and there you check the lag of replication. That way it will show you if you are bombarding your primary replica with this speed or with this much of workload, there will be a lag of, let's say, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, or so you can make some kind of assumption like at this speed of the change of application on my primary, there will be a delay on the read replica side. So that is something which you have to take care. These are some of the conceptual terms like cross-region replication, wherein you can create your read replica in a different region from your primary server. And there is something called as universal replica region. So you can always create a read replica in any of the regions which are available, and regardless of where your primary server. So it is like one region you have your primary, and then there are several other universal replica regions where you can create your replica. So that way you have your primary replica in one region and your read replica in other region. So they are geographically separated. There is something called a spared region in that case. Let's say there is one region in one continent and other in another. So in that case, there will be a bonding between these two regions, saying that if you pair these two regions, then there will be that much of delay. That means they are best suited for creating the replica. So you just take care of that in case it suffice your business requirement. And what are the general steps? First of all, you need to have a PostgreSQL instance which is created in your Azure. Then you do some kind of configuration required. So there are three configuration required which are available, which is off, which is by default disabled. That means you cannot use the off. You have replica and logical. So replica is by default, logical, this is the minimum level of logging which is required to make your replication work. And this is what we are going to do in the preparation of the primary server. So I have already created a primary server, and then we are going to create a read replica. We'll create it, then we will check the status from the replication. Then the testing which we are going to do is we are going to stop the replication, we will delete it and delete the replica, and we will see how it works. It is just conceptual only, and sometimes it really helps uh, when you perform some sort of migration wherein you have to do some changes on your primary, which is not possible. So temporarily you create a read replica, you do the changes over there, do the testing, whatever it is required, and then you can say like, this is what is going to happen if the same thing is done on my primary. So it is a quick way of doing the things. So we will go to this. This is my primary instance, which I had already created. And if you go to, so there are several tabs available over here. You have to go to the replication, and there you will say the add replica. So you have three options. One is off, which is by default off, because if you don't want to use it, it has been intentionally. And there are two more options available, replica and logical. If you wanted to learn more, you just click it and it will take you to the required documentation. The documentation in Azure for PostgreSQL is fantastic. You should read it and you will be able to see a lot of things about that. I'm going to add the read replica. So read replica is going to create a virtual machine having the similar configuration with your primary, and I will just name it PG 11 EMS replica 1. So we are going to create a replica. So let me create it. Okay. It is going to take I believe couple of minutes. And once it is done, we will see how it is, how we are going to manage it. So as usual, we will go to over here. It is going to take minimum of 2 minutes, I believe so. And in that time, what we will do is we'll go here and we'll go to the replication tab, and here you will see both will be available. As of now, this is PG11 EMS primary. This is my primary instance. PG11 EMS replica 1. That means this primary instance has a replica instance available, and the deployment is still going on. You can see the lines moving from left to right, and the progress is happening. And once it is completely done, it will show you the status available. So you need to make sure that the status is available. Though there is nothing great about this session wherein everything is being managed by Azure, but from the conceptual point, it may be good, like in what scenario you can use. And if there is a business requirement to have a read replica, you need to understand the implications also. If in case it is too much of write intensive primary replica, then there will be uh, the consequences according to the way it is created. So I'm going to just wait for it to get created. Once it is done, we will see. And what is that we will see over here is what is the status of the what do you say, the replication. So we will have to go to the matrices, and in matrices you will have to check what is the status of the replication. And this is very important, because when you are going to check the replication, you need to understand what is the delay in replication from primary to the read replica. So you have to check for in latency, you have to check the maximum lag across replica. That means between the primary and read replica one. So we just created one read replica, that's why we will be able to see one. So you can see that max lag across replica, it will show you the lag in bytes of the most lagging replica. If you say replica lag, it will show you over here. Let's first go ahead and check the status. It is still getting deployed. So once this is available, then only we will be able to see. And how do we mention it? The first thing, you have to go to the replication. In the replication tab, you will be able to see, you can see over the top, here it is master, here it is replica. Come on, this is sometimes very annoying when you are in hurry and when we are trying to deploy it, and it takes its own time. So the few things which you need to remember is you have to go to the replication tab, and the other is matrices. In the matrix, you have to select the scope, which one you wanted to monitor. We wanted to monitor the one which is primary, right? So okay, let us go back. This is our primary. Deployment succeeded. That's good stuff now. And if you go to the replication tab now, you will be able to see that master is this one. When we are saying master, that means it is going to accept both read and write operation. When you are saying replica, that means it is a read only managed instance, which is going to have the read only capabilities. The changes are not allowed on this particular instance. And now if you go to the matrices, in the matrices region, it will show you what is if you see the latency part, if you see the latency, though we haven't done anything, so it is not going to show you, but it will show you the latency in terms of bytes, and you can see the replica lag in terms of the seconds, minutes, or so. So this keeps on changing according to the bombardment on your primary and the way the lags go behind the primary. So these two things you can check it from here. And what is there for our so that's more than enough, just checking the latency. And the other part which is important over here is, if you go to the replication part again, you select, okay, I should not select it, I should just highlight it. Okay, go to the primary again, go to replication, you will be able to see primary and dr, sorry, the read replica. If you just select it, don't click it, otherwise you will not be able to see the delete replica and stop replication. For some reason I'm going to stop this replication. When you say I wanted to stop the replication, stopping the replication, that means you cannot re-establish it. That means once stopped, it is gone. So you just say the read replica will become a standalone server. You just say okay, and this is gone. It cannot be reversed. Now it is going to be your uh, individual instance which has no relationship with the master. So if we go to this is still progressing. So once it is completely um, okay, you can see earlier there was just one Azure database for PostgreSQL server, because the other was a read replica. So now both are independent, the primary instances, and this is what we had it. It was a read replica. If you wanted to delete it now, or you wanted to do some other operation, you can do it the way you do it on a individual managed instance. So I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it anymore. Whatever uh, changes or application testing I was supposed to do, though we have not done it, but you can do it this way only. I just delete it. This is done. And this is my primary instance. I'm going to delete that as well. So this is also deleted. So that's all about the read replicas. Just a recap, read replicas are asynchronous replicas of their master, and we did it on the single server, wherein you can have the PostgreSQL instance of 9, 10, and 11. It was Postgre 11. And we created a read replica, which was in logic in there are two options which are available. So either you go for off, or you go with replica, or you go with logical. So by default it is replica only. We use the replica, we created the replica, then we checked the lag, though we didn't do anything on the primary, so we cannot see it, but using the matrix section you can check the lag in terms of the bytes, in terms of the minutes. And if you try to stop a replication, that means it is going to be irreversible. You cannot make it again the replica, and you have to treat it as an individual instance, and then we finally deleted it. So mainly read replicas are used for read-only applications. So you can point out your applications towards the read replica, and it will be going to be helpful. I hope this helps. Thank you.